You are listening to Leading the Factory Forward with your host, Lynn Friest. We share interviews with manufacturing experts and strategies for embracing the digital future, recruiting a new workforce, finding new business. Lynn is an advanced manufacturing strategist and leadership consultant who is on a mission to show manufacturing leaders how to improve their current operations while preparing for a digital future. And here's your host, Lynn Friest.
Welcome, manufacturing leaders. You're listening to the podcast, Leading the Factory Forward. My name is Lynn Friest, and I'm honored to serve as your host. Whether this is your first time tuning in or you're a returning listener, welcome and thank you. Our goal here is to help manufacturing leaders ship great products, earn a great living, and learn how to make themselves and their organizations even better. With that in mind, we'll be serving as a guide and a thinking partner to help you improve your skills and knowledge as a leader, improve your employees' skills and knowledge, improve today's operations, and prepare for a digital future. We know that as manufacturing leaders, you face an overwhelming set of demands on your time and attention. We are here to help serve you and do the work of collecting and distilling the knowledge that can help you, and to provide it in a way that allows you to craft a starting solution and go right to work on it. So let's get started. In today's episode, we're going to dive into how to develop new skills rapidly to improve your business in 2018. We want to help you get started on creating your future and the future of your factory. The world is changing, and we need to continually learn new skills to successfully create our future. How fast we and our organizations can learn may determine whether we can remain relevant and competitive in the future. Just executing what we know how to do today will not be sufficient to create our success tomorrow. As you think back, the skills and technology present today did not even exist when we were engaged in our formal education years. Learning new skills requires practice. It's not enough to learn about new ideas. That just provides us with an awareness. We actually have to be able to set aside time to practice these new skills and use them. What we'll be sharing today is from a book called The First 20 Hours, How to Learn Anything Fast by Josh Kaufman. There will also be a group of additional resources available to you. In the book, the author provides a set of 10 skill development steps to take and shares also 10 concepts for effective learning. In this episode, we'll go over just a few of them, and then there'll be some resources in the show notes if you'd like to go further with rapid skill building. First thing to mention is the 10,000 hour rule. That's a concept that's fairly widely known, and it's a thing that is useful, but not in the case of rapid beginning skill building. The 10,000 hour rule only helps if you want to be highly expert in a very specific field. And again, what we're looking at here is how do we get, I'll say, good enough and a new skill so that we can be effective. In other words, can we reach the 70-80% skill level? Most of us aren't prepared to become a premium performer, but we can begin to learn new skills by having focused attention on them, and then, as the book states, devoting at least 20 hours to their development. The first thing Josh talks about is after you have picked out a skill that you want to learn something about, then identify your target skill level. You want to sharply define your desired skill. You also want to really think deeply about how good you want to be at that skill. If you want to develop some expertise in building websites or doing social media, think about what skill level you want to attain. You probably don't want to be a top expert. You may just need a basic knowledge. If that's the case, you can hire specialists to do some of the more complicated work. Think how good you want to really become. Then you take this overall skill you're interested in acquiring and you break it down into sub-skills. So, for example, if I want to be good at posting on LinkedIn, the first thing I may need to know is, do I have my LinkedIn account set up? How do I create a post? Maybe how should I attach a photo to it? How do I edit my post? You can examine that big skill and break it down into your sub-skills. Then work on the most important sub-skills first. Josh Kaufman uses the example of learning a language. In English, just 25 words make up 33% of the usage of the language. Obviously, focusing on those words would give you a leg up as you move forward. Next, we would consider the critical tools that we need. So in my case of Doing LinkedIn post? Do I need any editing software for text or photos? Do I need a subscription to a stock photo site where I can acquire the photos? With the sub-skills identified and the tools in place, then you have to start eliminating barriers to your practice. Again, this links back to something we talked about earlier with mini habits and those kinds of ideas. How do you make it almost ridiculously easy to do what you want to do in terms of practicing this new skill? One, set things up so you're not having to search for things. Maybe the first thing you have to do is organize your materials. In the case of writing this post, I pulled out a series of books that I thought might be useful to reference for this particular post and kept them nearby so I could easily use them. I also did a search on the book title and found out what others had said at the book, and that'll form the resources group that I have at the end. Then you get down to the actual carving out the time. You have to find some dedicated time. Again, we go back to establishing mini habits. You have to be able to do something that's going to make it ridiculously easy to get started on your practice. As Josh says in the book, if you want to become reasonably competent or proficient in something, you're probably going to have to put in at least 20 hours on it. Now, in terms of when you think of habits and skills, it's probably a longer-term game you're talking about. Even to say I want a new skill on effectively creating posts on LinkedIn, I'm going to have to devote some time to actually making that happen. As you get into this practice, you're also going to have to get some feedback to know if you're getting better or not. Now, maybe you can measure something or have a timer. Maybe you'd actually need to go out and find a study buddy or a trusted colleague who can help you and give you some really quick feedback to see if you're getting it right or not. This is a set of reasonable steps, so you have to get some rapid feedback to help see if you're on the right track or not. Finally, if at the end of the day you can't find the 20 hours, or at least that's what you're telling yourself, then maybe you should be looking for a different skill. It could be that you just don't have the passion around acquiring this particular skill, and it's just be a waste of your time and effort if you can't find those 20 hours. The end game here is pulling this all together. You want to reach big goals, but learning, practicing, and performing mini skills are your path forward. Repeated small steps develop these new, larger skills, which will move you toward your future goals. So, my call to action for you in this episode is, what is a new skill or behavior that will make a big impact on your business? What are the first small mini habits that you need to start to begin acquiring that skill? And is acquiring that skill important enough to your business to be able to find 20 hours to practice it? Please feel free to leave a comment on what your experience and your thinking is. As I mentioned earlier in the podcast, because this is a relatively complex and lengthy subject, I have a list of 4 resources for you. Obviously, the link to the book itself. Then also the author has supplied what's called a manifesto or a summary to the book, and there will be a link to that in the show notes. And then there are 2 bloggers. One, Sasha Chua, has put together a 1-page visual diagram of the concepts of the book. And then Pablo Staffarini has put together a nice 2.5-page summary of the book to help you, again, get clear on the concepts of it. Well, leaders, that's it for this episode. Thank you again for sharing your time and attention with us today. We hope this has provided you with knowledge that you can turn into action so that you can keep shipping great products, earning a great living, and learning how to make yourself and your organizations even better. The show notes and links to the resources in the podcast will be found at my website, linfrias.com. And if you'd like to leave a comment on iTunes or my website, please leave your name and I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming episode. My best wishes to you, and remember, manufacturing leaders, keep shipping, keep earning, and keep learning.